We'll just start in next 3 minutes. All right. Looks like we are all set. I can see all our speakers. And we have all our speakers on the screen. Okay. So I can see Claude, Mukesh. All right. Sham is there. Hi, Shantanu. Sheetal, Noor. All right. Do we have Bharat?
Yep.
We have all our speakers. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah.
So we'll start now, right? While others join in, we'll start. So hello everyone, and I would say a very happy new year. It's the first month of this year, and a time when all of us are still riding high on fresh energy, big resolution, and some like me are still trying to figure out why gyms are always packed in January. But more importantly, it's a perfect time, I would say, to kick off the year with conversation that matters. And today's session is exactly that. We have some amazing startups today. We have industry leaders, veterans. And before we dive in, let's talk about something we have all experienced. I would say a healthcare maze. You walk into a hospital with a simple issue. Your X-ray report is sent to one department, your blood test is lands in another department, and somewhere in between your prescription get lost in a shuffle. This sounds familiar, right? And at times it's also frustrating. Now I would say, quickly imagine a place or a world where all this chaos is transformed into harmony, a world where all these bits of data don't just sit in silos, but come together like an orchestra to play a beautiful symphony. Well, that's very poetic, but that's the promise of AI powered multimodal healthcare systems. You think of it as the ultimate matchmaker for medical data, bringing together X-rays, MRIs, genetic information, lab results, and even data from your fitness tracker, all in one seamless ecosystem. So it's not just smarter healthcare; it's healthcare that's precise, more accurate, personalized, and proactive, right? So simply put, it's healthcare that doesn't just treat you; it actually understands you. Now,
Mm.
the burning question, most important question before we dive in into the discussion: why does it actually matter? Because it's not just about saving time; it's actually about saving lives. We all agree, and with AI-powered multimodal systems, doctor can diagnose disease faster, create personalized treatments, better plans, and even predict complications before they occur. So we have some of our startups today. Mukesh can talk more about it. Noor can talk about it. And the best part is, the best part. I love this part. This isn't the sci-fi, or I would say far off dream. It's happening right now, right here. So, all right, I'm Naman Kothari, and I'm glad to be a host for today's session. And together, we'll discuss the fascinating world of AI driven healthcare with the help of some incredible speakers, panelists who are pushing the boundaries in this space. And yes, to all our audience who have joined us, I can see we have a full house. But let me tell you, this isn't a one way street. We want you, our amazing audience, to be a part of the conversation. If you got a question, drop it in the chat. If you have a thought, if you have a query, share it with us. Whether it's insightful, funny, or even a little offbeat, we actually want to hear it from you, because let's face it, no idea is too small when it comes to innovation, right? All right, enough said. So we are ready to dive in. Grab your coffee or chai, depending on your caffeine preferences, and let's meet the brilliant minds on today's panel. I have this red diary with me. So we have Shyamnath Harinath. We call him Shyam, from Siemens Healthineers, a visionary in harnessing cutting edge technology to redefine diagnostic and elevate patient care. Welcome, Shyam. He's been working very closely with us on some of the very complex use cases, working very closely with the startups, and an extremely popular name among the ecosystem. Welcome, Shyam. All right, next up, we have Claude Waddington from the Palindromic. He is joining us from Portugal. He's a global advocate for using AI to bridge healthcare gaps and ensure equitable access for all. Well, he's an extremely popular thought leader on LinkedIn. He writes very frequently on cutting edge topics. Glad to have you, Claude. Next up, we
Pleasure
have
being
Bharat
here.
Agrawal from Max Healthcare, a frontline leader transforming healthcare clinical care with innovative AI driven solutions. Welcome, Bharat.
Thank you, Naman. Nice and pleasure to be here.
And all right, thank you. And lastly, we have our very own Shantanu Gaur from Mighty NASCOM COE, a driving force behind AI adoption in India's healthcare sector. He's been working a lot with all the cutting edge startup solutions and some of the complex healthcare use cases. Glad to have you with us, Shantanu. All right, now that we are all set, let's dive right in. And without further ado, we'll start the discussion now. And we'll start first with Sham. And yes, also before we dive into the discussion, for the interest of everyone, I'll quickly run you through the format of the session. We have a panel discussion. Soon after, we will have the startup pitches. We have two wonderful startups with us. We have EasyOfI Solutions. We have Meenal, Noor, and Sheetal joining us. Then we have Newers Technologies. We have Mukesh joining us from Pune. So we'll come to you for the second half before we let's dive into the discussion. And we'll start with Sham first. Sham, we know you well. You've been working with us on lots of use cases, and Siemens Healthineers has been, at the forefront of healthcare innovation. Sham, my question to you is, how are you leveraging multimodal AI technologies to, address complex healthcare challenges? And also a follow-up question: could you also please share an example with us?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Naman and ASCOM, for having me here as part of the discussion and with the esteemed panelists also. Yeah, so just maybe before I get started, Siemens Healthineers, we are a medical devices company, right? And we manufacture medical equipment, but we also are in the digital health side. We do a lot of work in the AI applications. We have about 80 plus AI applications that have been approved for as a software as a medical device integrated into our hardware as well as standalone applications as well. Yeah, so at Siemens, we are working with quite a lot of technologies, AI, intersection of many technologies as well, AI, federated learning, and many other techniques. But the main vision for us is to develop a digital twin, right? And the digital twin, we believe, is really a multimodal approach because it needs to bring in data from different sources and not just bring it and store it in one place, but the digital twin should be able to work in the respective data silos, but still pull the information and also have the digital twin ideally for the patient lifetime, right? So that's our end vision that we are working towards. And because it involves many sensing mechanisms to collect the data and also structure the data and also derive actionable insights. And in the end, we can probably visualize it in AR, VR, right? And the whole concept of digital twin is that it should be able to be updated as and when a patient tests. It could be a blood test, it could be a imaging test that is done to by the patient, and then the digital twin automatically updates, and then it can be analyzed independent of the patient itself, so that you can really come out with the early diagnosis, detect things that could go undetected, and also really try and test out various treatment options and choose the best treatment option for the patient. Right. So this is the vision we are working towards as Siemens Healthineers. It still uh, has some time to mature as a concept. We have started working on the organs part of it, the digital twin of the organs, and eventually we will end up with a digital twin of the patient. So that's one example that we are actively working on. The other is a solution called Single Carbon, which is basically brings in all the data along the imaging value chain, right? So you have one workspace, one place for data management, and a radiologist can basically, or a clinical specialist can basically envision all the data for a patient centered around the patient along a clinical pathway. So this is another example that we have, and this product is commercialized, ready to be used, by the hospital providers.
Well, that's a great insight, Sham. And it's always good and fascinating to hear how advanced AI solutions are making healthcare more precise and efficient. Like talked about, and I'm sure our audience has already started visualizing the possibilities. So, Claude, over to you. As someone deeply involved in healthcare innovation, I would like to ask, mm, what are the most promising multimodal AI technologies currently being developed in the healthcare space, and what excites you the most?
Yeah, thank you, Naman. Thank you for the introduction as well, and pleasure being here. From our side, the Palindromic, we're a go-to-market consultancy. We have teams in India and in Europe, but we worked on global projects, and our perspective is global. How do you apply AI in healthcare? So whatever can be automated should be automated because it saves money, it saves lives, and we focus on the impact. So to answer your question, Aman, we partner the Palindromic. We sit at the junction between pharma and medtech. Big technology companies like Microsoft, we are a Microsoft partner, as well as startups. And we look at how do you drive collaboration between these three entities to improve access to healthcare and improve commercial models. As a specific example, we focus on structuring, aggregating, and automating the data. A lot of the data that we see even in Europe, in India, China, Southeast Asia, data is a mess. It's a mess in most healthcare systems. So we work with technology partners that are able to structure the data so we can understand a little bit better what is under the hood. Once that data is structured, then we can look at aggregating it. There's so many silos, as it was discussed before, so many silos to address. So I would say an important aspect of what we work towards is it data lakes where you can apply different AI models? Is it a data warehouse? Is it private cloud? There's aspects of this detailed unification that we focus on. And lastly, the automation in hospital. Naman, to answer your question directly, we work with VC-backed businesses that are looking to bring technologies in a healthcare setup. So it can be tech in a clinical environment or digital health, as Shyam mentioned. So within these two ecosystems, I'm going to use just one practical example, the hospital case, where we work with partners that wanted to bring a tech stack to help automate taxonomy related to healthcare, simplify the language so you can have structured data in that environment. So we looked at scaling that tool within a clinical trial environment.
Well, that's pretty interesting, Claude. We'll hear more from you. Now, Bharat, coming to you from a hospital management perspective, how do you see multimodal AI enhancing operational efficiency and improving patient outcomes, which is most talked about?
So, Naman, thanks for making me go third. Um, All of what the previous two panelists have said have kind of set a very good context for me to take it on from here. So, I'm going to talk about two levels. One is I'm a radiologist, so I'll speak from a radiology perspective, but I'll also talk a little bit about what Max is doing in this whole ecosystem. So, like Claude mentioned, the big problem that exists today is the lack of data sanctity um, and the homogeneity and the structure. So, we have been lucky at Max Healthcare that we have been using IT solutions for capturing data for many, many years. We've had an EMR in our system for more than a decade. Um, After I joined Max about 11 years ago, we integrated a risk pack system to ensure that there was integration between the radiology um, images and workflow from the data. And then we had other silos like the lab information system, the e-prescription for the OPDs. And in the last 3 or 4 years, we've actually created an office of digital health. So we have a chief digital officer. And while I'm not getting into the AI upfront, I'm talking more about the foundational, state of current affairs. we have had the opportunity to put this together both from the patient perspective as well as from the clinical community perspective. So today we have digital solutions for all kinds of doctors, from surgeons, pathologists, radiologists, internists, to have access to patient information on their mobile phones. And similarly, patients now have access to all their healthcare touch points with Max Healthcare over many um, months and years. And at the back end of this was obviously a very strong effort to ensure that there was integration between all our previously siloed systems. Uh, Regarding moving to the AI space, we've also made a very strong effort to put in a data lake in position. Claude talked of a data lake. And at this point of time, ours, we've got some space hosted on AWS, and we've just put all the folders collectively as a data lake on AWS, and are in the process of teaming up and partnering with companies who will build the structured layers on top of this to help us in our journey of the AI enablement of this multimodal delivery. So I think in terms of basic digitization, and I won't really call it basic because it's quite complex in the first place, or non-AI digitization, we are already there. And multimodal integrated practical use cases on a minute-by-minute basis. But we've also set up the infrastructure and are in the process of working with 3, 4, 5 companies, such as what Claude mentioned, that they do, where we are doing pilots to see how we can leverage this data to create a more homogeneous, consistent, and impactful outcome for all our patients and all the stakeholders to have the ability to have the AI embedded on what we already use today. So that's as far as the organizational level goes. I'm going to give you a small example of what we're doing, which is actually working in a small radiology research group that we have set up within Max Healthcare. We have a couple of data scientists. We have us as radiologists. We've teamed up with a couple of Indian large tech institutions. And we are actually in the process of building our own small solutions, which are niche, using AI tools in areas where we feel there will be an impact on our patients' care. And I'll give you just 2 or 3 examples of what we're doing. For instance, we are looking at combining immunohistochemistry, MRI, and clinical data. So that makes it multimodal to build some predictive models using radiomics for breast cancer, evaluation, prediction, outcomes. And since we have Hari from Siemens here, a lot of the work we're doing on the radiomics is actually on the Frontier platform, which we have in-house. It's a research platform which Siemens provides some partners, which we have a collaboration with them. Other than that, we're of course looking more at the generalizability of the data. We have also got to look at benchmarking of population databases. So while you have disease, which is specific, you also have normal patients or individuals and humans. And that goes again in line with what Hari was talking about, digital twins. So we are also using our data to build some normative databases, which we hope in time will see the light of day for other researchers to use in areas such as neurology and breast imaging. So these are the 2 main areas that we're looking at working. So that's the landscape that we work in. And obviously, in all candidness, the AI piece is still a while away. We still need that whole AI to fit into the clinical patient workflows, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Bharat. That's a great take, great take. And Shantanu, let me bring you into the discussion now, right? And Shantanu, my question to you is why, in fact, why do you think this multimodal AI we all are discussing is necessary for healthcare today, since you work very closely on various use cases? And a follow-up question, what makes it a game changer, if it is?
Right. So, see, let us first start by understanding like how a typical, episode for a patient works out when he or she visits a hospital. And all of us know that, but I like to reiterate it. It generally starts with the patient getting admitted to the hospital and different departments working in closely in tandem. Now, what happens is that these different departments, whether it is the IPD or whether it is the radiology or whether it is the ICU, they generate different kinds of data at different instance of time that ultimately go into the case file. And and what it results is that it in itself creates silos. So, but something like a multimodal AI, wherein you use something like a visual language model or something that can ingest multiple sources of data, you are able to get something which something as simple as a discharge summary automated. Now one might say that we are talking about AI and all those things, so probably discharge summary, getting that in a hospital is a really very small thing. But you ask the pain of the patients who have to in some of the processes they have to wait for something as simple as a discharge summary but yet very crucial to come in, and various kinds of these data sets coming in, whether it is the text data which starts out by recording of the patient symptoms, what was administered, and the the other pre-existing diseases, family history and all those things, to the data from the MRCT, the RAD basically department, and the pathologies tests, to again the data that is coming in from a host of medical devices that are attached to a patient, and using AI to do a sort of an auto interpretation of these the great amount of data that these biosensors are creating. So multimodal AI is typically allowing us to achieve that, where you can club the intelligence that is coming in from different departments, from different data sets, to create something which is as simple as a discharge summary. Now I would also cite one more example which I am personally driving with an ophthalmo super specialty chain, which is based out of South India, where this chain conducts screening camps for glaucoma and DR. The idea is to prevent blindness. Now the problem is when they go out in in the remote areas, there is an absence of an expert over there. So over there, something like a Doctor Copilot is really helpful. So what I'm doing as of now is I'm integrating a sort of a visual language model where the AI inference that is obtained by an AI solution that is based on the retinal images from a fundus camera will be integrated with a VLM, which will be used for the interactions between the doctor and the patient. Now, the overall intent is that the entire process gets, becomes, paperless, and also the other layer coming in, wherein the patient, once he or she goes home, and they need any sort of, inference, they need any sort of advice, any sort of consultation, then they don't need to come back to the PHC or wait for the screening camp to preside again. What they can do that they can pull out their smartphone. There is an app that talks to them in vernacular. It can be Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Gujarati, English, Hindi, whatever. And based on the specific things, specific points related to the patient's case, the specific knowledge base specific to the particular department, like ophthalmo in this case, he or she will be able to get the basic queries addressed. Now, something like this is only possible while following the multimodal AI approach, where you are not only you're getting different kinds of data, but you are also trying to integrate various kinds of AI models together to offer a larger platform layer that can be used for various purposes.
Well, that's quite an interesting take, Shantanu. Thank you. And I think one thing it's pretty clear that multimodal AI isn't just an option now. It's more of a requirement for the future of healthcare. All right. So Claude, let's circle back to you, and we are on time. In fact, we are moving on time. So Claude, let's circle back to you, and let me ask you. You spoke about the promise of multimodal AI earlier, right? You spoke about it. Now let's address an important point, important question. How can we ensure equitable access to AI-driven healthcare systems for underdeserved populations?
That's a that's $1 million question, isn't it? Equity has to be government led. If I look at Europe, we have the EU AI Act, which is creating the framework for unifying data, structuring the data. And I'll go back to what Bharat was saying because my vision is very much aligned to his based on what he described. Bharat, you mentioned how you build those systems, but you looked at unifying some of those aspects. There are challenges around how much data is collected and how much of it is structured and how much of it is unstructured data. Because if you truly want to apply AI, you need to have structured data in most instances. For unstructured data, AI is still being developed to the point where it can function better in a more accurate way. Let's put it that way. So I would say for the topic of access, I think we should look at specific use cases. We can't boil the ocean in one question, but we can say what use case can we address, and that is the point of providing support for burdened doctors. And if we look at India, the number of patients a doctor in India needs to see, it's like 100 times higher than a doctor in Europe because of the volume of population. So I would focus on the burden of time that the doctor is spending on reviewing documentations. So for somebody who looks to invest in that sort of technology in order to address the problem around burden on doctors, I would say focus on productivity return on investment, focus on total cost of digital, because by having digital, it may be an upfront investment, but long term, it would save you an hour per day. So if I were a doctor, if I spend 1 hour less on admin, I'm happy to take that. That's time saved, money saved, more time with patients.
Well, true accessibility is indeed, a critical aspect, Claude, and I'm glad you highlighted ways to ensure that these innovations don't just stay in labs but reach those who need them the most. Right. So Bharat, I would like, to follow up with you. While you spoke a lot about how AI might be the requirement in future and how AI has immense potential, implementation comes with its own challenges, like we all know. So what are as per your opinion, as per your understanding, what are some real world barriers? Because our startups, our audience would want to know that you have observed when integrating AI applications into clinical workflows, and how do you think they can be overcome?
Well, I'll give you my experience because a lot of my experience is radiology centric. And I mentioned to you that we as radiologists use a platform called RIS PACS, which is Radiology Information System, and PACS for visualization, reporting, access to clinical records. One of the big challenges that I do see is the whole integration of AI solutions in the radiology, or let's say here, the clinical workflow. And when I look at AI startups or AI solutions, we are looking at two different types of developers. One is those who are the legacy technology providers who build all the PAC systems and the risk systems. And then there are the startups. And a lot of the startups have a problem in integration with our radiology workflows because, I mean, I'm sure some of you technical experts are aware that there's the DICOM and then there's the whole HL7 integration, which is required for the image as well as the text integration. And a lot of startups struggle. And as a result of that, they'll end up building their own visualization software. For a radiologist, while they're building a tool, which is creating efficiency, just the fact that there's absence of integration is a huge negative, because no radiologist or clinician wants to step out of their existing workflow to get into a space where they're uncomfortable with. So I think going forward, the big ask in terms of making AI more pervasive and available would be to ensure that there has to be a mechanism of integration. And I'll go back 2 decades. HL7 is been there for 30, 35 years. DICOM, the current version's been there for about 2.5, 3 decades. I think it's time, and I think there is a lot of initiative out there. There's something called FHIR, which is again a new standard of communication where every developer of AI solutions, and the challenge is everybody can't build the whole system, ecosystem. There will be components which will be built by different companies, different innovators, different institutions, large companies. But I think the whole orchestration of that is something I find missing in the current ecosystem, where there is very little focus in terms of building the standards of ensuring that there is this whole communication and interoperability. So that's the big challenge I see in the real world. We have these lovely solutions, and I'll give you an example to the, in a different perspective. We are working with a tool where there is this AI solution which is picking up head CT related findings. They have 60 or 70 findings, including stroke, including bleeds, including aneurysms. And what they've done innovatively is that they built a little URL which we will now be placing as a part of our pilot into the ER. And the ER doctor as well as the radiology team will have access to that URL. We have a large dashboard which is on display in all departments. So that will ensure that there's visibility. But this is still a workaround because it's still not completely integrated to both the ER and the radiology workflow. So people are making an effort to bring in that all the pieces together, but it's work in progress.
Very nicely put, and that's a very grounded and practical take, Bharat. Thank you for highlighting the importance of especially addressing the on-ground realities when adopting any new technology. Thank you. So, and Shyam, will come to you now, and let's now talk about diagnostic advancements. So, in your experience, how do you see, or I would say, how do multimodal AI systems contribute to improving diagnostic accuracy and treatment planning in areas like radiology and pathology?
Yeah. So before I take that question, I also to just add on to what Dr. Bharat was saying here, right? In terms of having an orchestration sort of a platform, which is also the ambition of the Single Carbon I mentioned. I think Dr. Bharat is already using the Single Frontier, which is more for the research. The Single Carbon is meant for third-party integration as well. So basically, like I said, it's one workspace integrated with third-party applications. So it's one advanced visualization tool for the radiologist with multiple applications, and they can just drag and drop the application based on the clinical area or the clinical focus area for that patient. So that's what we want to achieve. So yeah, Dr. Bharat, so your point is well taken. We are working towards it to orchestrate this solution. Going to the next, the question about how does such solutions improve diagnostic accuracy? I think the first thing is, just by having this, right, it sort of organizes the data around the patient and the patient's clinical condition. Right? That on its own brings in a lot of efficiency to the clinician. Right? He doesn't have to spend looking into multiple systems and trying to come with a diagnosis for the patient. Just having it in one place around a certain clinical condition improves the workflow for a clinician. Both that's one aspect. Second, Shantanu mentioned about the patient journey, right? When he comes into the hospital, right? And data is collected at multiple points, right? Now, yeah, so and then with AI now, if you're able to pull in all the data and you can stratify a patient based on his risk and take the, for example, the cardiology, right? You can have a different risk stratification for the patient and say, okay, this patient is high risk, hence he needs such and such investigation, right? But now let's say you have a blood test done, right, and then you combine it with the CT data, then you're able to identify and the critical patient and triage them immediately to the right point of care. So definitely these sort of things will uh, enable early detection and early diagnosis. The second example is, let's say, along the cancer pathway, the tumor board discussion, or the tumor board is a big part of choosing the right treatment plan for the patient. And this becomes critical and to have multimodal data in this tumor board discussions, right? So that you really understand what is the history, what are the symptoms that is going, what are the past investigations that has been done, and then by with AI, then you're able to really identify the right treatment option for the patient. And this is where I also talked about the digital twin. And somebody had asked in the chat, I noticed about what is the true value of digital twin. Right? If you have a digital twin of a patient here, and let's say you are able to try on the twin a treatment option, either it's a drug that you want to administer, and then you're able to see the progression of the patient, right? And then you can try multiple things out and then really administer the right treatment plan for the patient. That's the value I see with bringing such innovations such as digital twin or multimodal for a patient.
Thank you, Shyam. That's pretty interesting take. I'm sure all our startups and
Naman,
audience
if you don't
is
mind,
making notes. Yes,
if you don't mind, I'll just say a couple of add-ons to what was just said.
please,
So,
please.
medicine and healthcare is contextual management. Typically, what happens is if you do not have data points about people, even in 2 centuries ago, a simple thing like history, clinical examination, a headache is a headache and will have a million reasons. So I think one of the big impact factors that AI can do, and that's something that Claude mentioned, is the whole brief, concise contextualization of a patient's need at a point of time across all the multiple touch points that they go through in their healthcare journey. And I think that's where multimodal AI will make the largest impact. That can you make it a journey of that patient in terms of their context to the provider? I think that's the key here, where we will need to use the power of AI and all the large language models and everything that everyone's building around the world to make that that interaction relevant to why the patient's there with all the information readily available.
Mhm.
Well, true. AI is definitely talk of the town. And Shantanu, adding to Bharat's note, right? You have shared some insightful examples how multimodal performs and in action in your previous question, right? Now let's discuss more about its challenges in depth. So, what are the key challenges in adopting multimodal AI for healthcare, and how do you think they can be addressed effectively?
Right. So, first of all, it is a honor and a privilege to hear, to all the dignitaries who are here, and particularly their inputs and the validation that I have got in terms of the providers coming in and the medtech partners coming in and saying in with regard to the key things that impact, such advancements in technology. That is the first thing that I must, address at the forefront. Now, coming to the fact that challenges to adoption, I mean, so in my role at NASCOM, IT NASCOM COE, it is, my day in and day out is focused on getting those solutions adopted by, various healthcare providers and medtech enterprises and even pharma companies for that matter. And that allows, me to, gather, where are the things, where are the areas in which we are probably stuck or we can do things better. And some of those things which I've seen are, pretty basic. I mean, pretty at pretty ground level. where, for example, Dr. Bharat mentioned that, they have their institution primarily have been using the digital tools, and they have the digital infra ready in place so that an AI layer can be built on top of that. Many a times what we find is that, that digital layer, that digital infra is missing. So what it means is that we have to first solve the problem zero, which is to make all that hard paper data or handwritten data in a converted it into a format which can be digitized, and it can be made clinical documentation ready, so that any sort of even a unimodal AI can work on it. So that, I think, is the first problem, and that is a part and parcel where the only way is to address that problem as it comes. There is no other way of doing it. Of course, the other way is of creating an awareness that digitization, comes at a cost, but over time, the cost that you are spending on that particular part, the ROI is pretty much addressed in a very short span of time. And there are other key benefits associated with going ahead and using IT tools and having the data digital format. So that is one of the key things that we are also doing by spreading that awareness that a basic level of digital infra at least should be in place, because that doesn't hurt in the long run. In fact, it helps the organization at various levels. The other challenge that I must point out is with regards to there is the DPDP Act that has come in quite recently, and data protection, both data security and data privacy is a really big concern, because if you're talking of even a unimodal AI, then you are getting a large amount of accessing reading or modifying a large amount of healthcare data. But if you talk of multimodal, it means that that thing becomes exponential. So, going back to the original, initially what I said with regards to discharge summary, deploying such a solution would mean getting the data inflow from all the departments during the entire patient journey. So you can assume the kind of data privacy and security concerns that would come as a part and parcel of such an implementation. Of course, there are ways to do it, wherein right from the day one, you ensure that there is a stringent evaluation of all the AI solutions, there AI models that get implemented. You have a policy in place and a clear understanding of that policy amongst all the stakeholders with regards to both the data privacy and the data security. And of course, one of the other things is that secure by design, privacy by design is something that we are also doing amongst all the solution providers, the startups, the mid-sized tech SMEs that we are working with, to ensure that when we go out for a deployment, their solution is meeting the requirements of all the laws of the land, all the regulations that have to be put in place. Now, going to the other, other part of, the key challenges that we face is the accuracy. Now, the, even if it's a single model which is deployed for a particular modality, it would be having a certain accuracy. Now, here we are talking of different modalities coming together, either through different AI models getting integrated, or all of these modalities going to one particular AI model. Now, accuracy is one thing which is, it is as good as the weakest link. So even if there can be multiple points of failure in that, even if there is a single AI model. Okay. For instance, if you are getting the clinical documentation done using one of the AI model, which is supposed to be integrated with something which is doing the MR or a CT part, and if one of the piece is not working fine, or it is not as accurate, or it is below expectation, then the entire thing goes for a toss. So that is something which is also a key problem. And then isolating that problem also becomes a big bottleneck, because what you would realize is that overall, at an overall level, the final outcome is not meeting that. But if there are different AI models that are feeding into that platform, then it becomes difficult whether the problem is with this base model or with any other one. So of course there are ways to do it as well, in which we can, as I said, right from the beginning, keep in checks and balances whenever we are deploying such a solution, and ensure that there are periodic checks and balances as well, where you look at the performance of all the AI models that are a part of a platform layer, and see if any of the models is not performing well, or if it is hallucinating, or if it is not meeting the required expectation, if there is any particular situation or condition in which anomalies get created. So that is another challenge which is is one of the barriers to adoption. But that all these challenges, as I said, they can be overcome if we are proactive right from the day one, and we have a mechanism in place to ensure that there is a periodic evaluation of all these challenges.
Right, right. Addressing these challenges head on is critical, Shantanu. Thank you. And this completes our two rounds of successful discussion. And Hari and Dr. Bharat, Claude, I must tell you that today, for this particular session, our chatbot seems extremely busy. All our audience are, actively participating. They are pretty curious and wants to know more about from our speakers. So we'll come back to all our speakers again. For now, we are moving to our second part of the discussion, which is startup pitches, or we call it our own curated spin-off version of Shark Tank. Right? I would request all our speakers, to evaluate, to be the part of the jury who will evaluate these pitches. So without further ado, I would like to invite the first presenter. We have Noor Fatma, Meenal Gupta, and Sheetal from the EasyOfI team. They are working on AI powered radiology and diagnosis. All right, over to you, Noor. Meenal, please. You have 8 minutes to talk about your solution, tech stack, and some of the use cases, and then we take up questions and we move to the next presenter. Over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Noor Fatma. I'm the co-founder of EasyOfI Solutions, and I'm here with my co-founders Sheetal Tarkas and Meenal Gupta. Uh, the thing what we are EasyOfI is an AI in health company, and our first product is Imagix AI, which is an AI enhanced connected care platform for medical images. The first we started building our products 3-4 years back, along with researchers from AIMS, neurologists from AIMS, oncologists from AIMS, and we have built a system for diagnosis as well as treatment and surgery planning using medical images. And when we have worked with these experts, what we have found is that multimodal AI systems are very necessary. So initially, our medical images were trained, our models were trained to interpret medical images, but now we are moving towards multimodal system for some of the diseases, and then we would move on to others also. So a little introduction. We are EasyOfI Solutions. We are a women-led team. We have presence in 9+ states in India. We have filed 3 patents, and we take care. We are ISO 13485 and HIPAA compliant company. So we have not built the system in silos. We have collaborated with institutes, for example, AIMS Delhi, AIMS Bhopal, KLE, JIMS, SGPGI, IIT Indore, IIT Delhi, Design Innovation Center, Punjab University, to build our models and make sure that what we are building is related to the market as well as the need. So some of the use cases for our platform is: one is radiology, which is cloud native AI powered DICOM platform for collaboration support for connected care in radiology. So for resource limited areas, for example, Northeast and rural India, the integration of connected care and PACS is very low. So we have deployed our platforms there. The second is AI-based triage for prioritization of patients and worklists for different diseases. The third is surgery planning using automatic segmentations of organs of regions of interest. Then radiation planning for organs of risk in radiation oncology. The first product is the automatic contouring for radiation oncology. As we know that radiation oncology is a very complex process, wherein the contours have to be done on the CT data for targeting the tumor and preventing the other organs which are around it. So we have developed an AI based system for contouring of ARs. And when we build the models, we have built it that it is an API based system, following all the standards. For example, we follow the DICOM standard, we follow the FHIR, so that it can be integrated with any existing RIS packs also. And we have it is a continuous learning process. So depending upon the feedback which the user is giving, in this case the healthcare providers are giving, it continuously corrects itself, and the training goes on. So we are doing an study at BBCI Guwahati, which is a TMH center. The second is automatic cranial implant generation. So in head injuries, and also in cancer cases, so we need a patient specific design, implant design. Now this process is manual, and it takes almost 5 to 6 hours to design that patient specific implant. So now our model generates it within 5 minutes. It's a web based, easy to use interface for the neurosurgeons, and we are right now working on maxillofacial reconstruction too. So at first we are working on the mandible part, for the mandible implants. Then it is we have also worked on ICH, and this is the first model which we are moving towards multimodal system. So our algorithm is a combination of supervised and unsupervised model. Initially, we have trained the model on large number of good brain images, and so the model knows how to regenerate a brain image if a problematic brain image is given to it, and then we compare those images and we get an anomaly, and then we feed that into a classification and a localization model wherein we get what type of ICH it is. Now this was initially trained on medical images, and we are now moving to multimodal systems wherein we are also taking patient specific data along with the images and retraining visual transformers at Shantanu talked about, and coming to a very good decision making process. And this we have been working for the past 1 year with a neurosurgeon from AIIMS Bhopal who has helped us to come to this stage. The other is 3D models for surgery planning. So as Sham was talking about, he was talking about the digital twin of the human system, and that starts with organs. We have developed segmentation models which can, so this, if you see, this is a tumor segmentation model of a liver. So the first step is segmentation, and the second step goes on to including the physiological aspects of the liver also into that, so that a digital twin of the liver can be made. Right now, we are providing it for customized surgical planning and also for patient information. These are the initial models which we started working on, which were for TB and X-ray, TB and fracture. It provides localization and classification. And it also has an automatic report generation. And it is mostly used in the trauma centers wherein they need immediate assessment of the problem. And it has been integrated with mobile X-ray units. And we are also integrating a measurement volume module with it. So these are the products which we have been working on. That's it from my side.
Well, on time, Noor, that was a good pitch, good crisp pitch. Thank you. So we open up for questions quickly, or in the interest of time. All right, I can see a few applauds already. Any questions, or we take them later? All right, thank you, Noor. Now we'll move to a second speaker. We have Mukesh.
Yes. Hello,
Mukesh,
everyone.
over to you. You know the drill, Mukesh. Over to you, and please take us through your futuristic solutions that you have.
Yes. Thank you, Naman, and hello, everyone. So I will take a slightly different path here. Rather than going for a PPT, I would like to demonstrate the solution here itself, so that everyone can experience what we are talking about. Uh, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you. So this is our application, New AI. It is currently available on App Store and Play Store. New AI is a CDSCO certified Class B medical device. And what it does is it extracts multiple health vitals of any person, by looking at the mobile screen. So as you can see, I'm just looking at my mobile screen and my multiple health vitals will flash onto the screen. This works on the same principles as any of the wearables. Wearables work on the principle of
हाँ मैं अभी करती हूँ.
Mukesh,
sorry,
go
I'll
on.
start again. So this works on the principles of photoplethysmography, which is PPG. Here we are doing it remotely. Basically, light falling on my blood flow is being reflected onto the camera, and our neural engine is analyzing the right light reflection as red, green, blue light. So this solution can be easily plugged into any of the AI, multimodal system that we were talking about right now. This is extremely affordable. It can be easily deployed. It can even work in the absence of internet connectivity. And again, when we talk about data, this is extremely data secure. As you can see, my heart rate is slightly high, 107. My breathing rate is 22. My blood pressure is also a bit on the higher side, 137/92. Oxygen saturation, heart rate variability, 23 millisecond. Hemoglobin, 13.1. My HbA1c, that is blood sugar, is 5.43. And here are some of the risks. I tend to have a risk of hypertension and hypertension, no diabetes risk. So this is the solution that we have. And Yes, and I mean, we see a lot of use cases for this solution around insurance, transportation, telemedicine, and even for hospitals as well. I think, Naman, that's all from my side.
Well,
Ready
that's
for
pretty cool tech stack, Mukesh. Thank you for that neat presentation, for that demo actually, demo come presentation. Thank you, Mukesh. And I would now like to invite all our speakers on the screen for once again, please. And we have Dr. Bharat, Shyam, Shantanu, and Claude. Mukesh, you can. All right. So we have everyone here. Dr. Bharat, we'll start with you. I know you have a hard stop. So quickly, if you could just, give a closing note, right? Or anything you wish to share in particular.
Well, a lot has been said, and I can only summarize that I am optimistic that there is a lot of potential of using AI in all spheres of life, including healthcare. Obviously, a word of caution that nothing is perfect, and there has to be a maturity in every individual organization, country, region in ensuring that it is used to its potential and not abused or not under or overutilized. So there has to be a lot of pragmatism and maturity in users. There was some chat on training, acceptability. I think we have a doctor in our midst, probably is Dr. Khare, who talked of education early on, responsible use of uh, uh, you know responsible use of technology. I think we have to go down to primary and middle school levels uh, to plan for the future, so that people are use it, uh, in a very pragmatic way without causing any harm, specifically to healthcare. Thank you for having me here. I will jump out of this meeting. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure
Dr. Bharat.
interacting with everyone.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Bharat.
Thank you, Dr. Bharat. So Sham, quickly, I'll come to you for the closing note. But before that, I would personally want to ask you something which is very close to my heart. I want to talk to you about collaboration, which is actually essential for innovation. We know we have held you since 3 p.m. today, right? We've been with us on back-to-back calls, but just quickly, what role you see partnerships and collaborations play in uh, AI innovation in healthcare at large?
Yeah. So I mean, healthcare has huge challenges, and with the challenges, there are opportunities, right? But we also believe that we cannot solve everything on our own. So it is, it's key to collaborate with, startups that are here, plus industry partners, and importantly, clinical partners, right? For adoption of AI, we need to have the clinicians' acceptance of AI, right? And that's it's very key. So it's important to collaborate is the only way. We even talk about multimodality, right? That means you have the EHR, so it's so fragmented. Our systems, there are so many PACS providers, EMR providers. So only way to work is, even for a multimodal approach to work, is to have collaborations with partners. But like Dr. Bharat said, there is a huge potential, and I'm a firm believer in AI, and we as a company also believe in AI. And multimodal approach will only improve the accuracy and acceptance of AI, I feel, because there's a love for cross-validation of modalities, right? So you could use a blood test to validate your imaging AI algorithm. So these are some of the benefits you see from such an approach of using multimodal.
Great, great. Thank you, Shyam. Claude, moving to you. Any closing remarks you would like to share with all of us?
First of all, I wanted to say thank you to both Noor and Mukesh for demonstrating your solutions. It's great to see innovation. The only way we can address the challenges in the market is by innovating. I do agree with Shyam on what he described that we have to address first. I would say for any business, any AI model that's being launched in the market, be very clear on what are you solving for. You have to be 100% clear on what problem you're addressing. And secondly, what is the commercial value to the healthcare system? Not what you think it's cool with doing AI. There's so much cool things out there and they fail all the time. So we have to ask, how is that helping the healthcare system save costs or improving efficiency in a process? And articulating that very clearly will drive adoption, will drive impact, and will drive investment from the healthcare system or a pharma or medtech. So I think this is what I wanted to conclude on, which is know your space.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you. Shantanu, over to you.
So, first of all, thank you to the Open Innovator team for organizing this, and all the panelists who have joined in. Claude, Sham, Dr. Bharat, he had to leave. So it is really, an honor to, because as a part of NASCOM COE, I'm an enabler to the adoption of AI, and it is impossible to do it without the ecosystem coming in together. So we need the support of the healthcare providers, the enterprises, the medtech enterprises, as well as the big tech enterprises, and of course the tech startups. So a word also goes out to Mukesh and Noor, and I've been working with them closely as well for various kinds of adoptions and deployments that I do part and parcel. One thing which I must say is that multimodal AI, like any technology, has a huge potential. In fact, not just potential, we are getting the on ground deployment done as well. So they are creating an impact as we speak. But similarly, like any technology, it has certain challenges, and pros and cons are there as well. So if we are careful about those aspects, I think the future looks pretty good. And the kind of impact that can be created through the multimodal AI and the role that NASCOM COE can play in bringing the ecosystem together and possibly closing the gap that is there between the enterprises, and the startups and the tech companies. Then I think we will be a very happy lot at the end of the day to ensure that we are able to create that value, create that impact for the enterprises and create a win-win, not just for the enterprises, but for the startups as well.
Well, right. Thank you, Shantanu. And there you have it. The future of healthcare is undoubtedly exciting. And with the innovations we have discussed and witnessed today, we are one step closer to the world where personalized, efficient, and equitable care is the norm. So once again, a big thank you to our esteemed panelists, Shyam, Claude, Bharat, and Shantanu, and Mukesh, Noor, Sheetal, Meenal for sharing valuable knowledge and experience with us, right? And thank you for everyone who engaged with us and to all our curious audience, right? I personally had one of the best sessions today with such curious audience. As we wrap up, let me remind you that the journey doesn't end here. The potential of AI in healthcare is vast, and I encourage you to keep exploring, asking questions, and driving innovation in this space. And if you have any further thoughts or would like to continue the conversation, feel free to reach out. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Thank
everyone.
so
you, everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.